Welcome to Same Spit Different Face TV. Well, my opinions is facts, and if you don't like my opinions, you can start your own podcast, and it's free. So don't forget to spit on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification.
Country, probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
The first video is people being removed from being close to Trump just before shots go off. Now, a lot of people are looking at this and saying, hey, why would they remove these people just before this happened? Now, it could be for safety reasons. It could be because, hey, they finally heard or paid attention to what was going on, and they didn't want those people to get hurt in the process of what was about to happen. Or, the conspiracy theorists will say, well, they were moving them out the way so the shooter could have a clear shot at Trump and wouldn't hit these people. Now, when I look at that conspiracy theory, I don't know what to think of it, but I do know that Trump was far enough away from them and he was elevated high enough where if that person who took that shot wanted to take a shot, he would be able to get a clear shot without actually having to come even close to those people because Trump position was elevated and those people position was down lower. But that's one of the first videos. This person essentially breaks down how the guy was maybe like 150 feet away from Trump. And whenever a president or a former president, the Secret Service is supposed to secure at least up to 500 feet. So basically, this guy's saying, hey, either it's a really bad mess up or it's an inside job. Now, I've been in Florida when I've seen the president actually come to town, and it's been crazy. And they'll shut off the expressway where no one can get on or off. They'll be going into the local businesses to see who's in there. They'll ask, do you have any access to the top of this roof? Are there any ladders and things like that? And they may not specifically say ladders, but they'll say stuff like, do you have any access points in the back? Is it any way to get to the roof from the back or the side or whatever? And the business have to tell them, and they usually come days ahead of time and scope these things out. And I'm sure with Google Map, it makes it even easier now to figure out where they need to go, where they need to check, and they have to check in with the local businesses as well. And also, being in Chicago, I also know that, if you on the east side in that High Park area where Obama House is at, if you go through that block more than twice, the police or that little security in that area is going to pull you over. If you walk too close to that house or if you stop in front of that house like you about to take a picture or do anything, you stand there too long, they're going to come out and say something to you, or that car going to pull up on you and ask you, what are you doing right here? Where are you from? Where are you going? Why are you in? So to me, I wouldn't say it's an inside job because I don't want to be one of those people who put on that tinfoil hat. But I will say that it's crazy that they allowed this to happen and allowed this guy to be this close. And the guy actually allegedly killed someone else in the crowd as well.
And probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here, I have no idea, But we noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle, absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle.
So this guy was basically outside the rally. He wasn't trying to go in. He was just waiting, basically tailgating. And then once Trump started speaking, he said like 5 to 7 minutes later, he saw a guy crawling up the side of the building. And the interesting thing about the video is that he said he was trying to tell the police that it was a guy on the roof. He was trying to warn the police that it was a guy on the roof. And he said the police were running around dumbfounded. So in my personal opinion, what do we look at when we look at something like that? Do we say, hey, this is a possibility of an inside job? Or do we say that the police are exactly what some of the police are exactly what some of us have been saying and non-competent in situations where you really need to be competent? Some of them in some situations where you need to establish aggressive they run away. In some situations that don't call for aggressiveness, they overly aggressive. And something like this, when you hear someone saying that someone's running up a building with a rifle, you shouldn't be looking confused and yelling, huh? And you know it's a presidential rally. You should be trying to get to that guy to see what's going on. You should be trying to shoot that guy off of that ladder, off of that roof, yelling some type of commands. But I guess it just depends on the cop that you run into and the time of the day. But the guy who was crawling up the roof, he did get killed. Don't want to say his name. Don't want to give him any energy. That's why I didn't put his picture on the thumbnail or put his picture out there. The one great thing I like about the guy is a Republican. And the reason why I say I like that he's a Republican because it doesn't give that back and forth fight that I know a lot of people were looking for. I know when this first happened, a lot of people was thinking this was somebody from the left. I know a lot of people was going to expect him to be a Democrat. I know a lot of people was going to expect him to be some women's right activist, some Black Lives Matter, some Trump is a bad person, those type of prototype, but it wasn't, and I'm glad about that. The guy is registered as a Republican, and to be honest, I don't know the guy. I don't want to diagnose him, but he looked like he suffered from mental health issues. He looks like he's very slow or very socially awkward. So that's something that I just observed when I looked at him. Was like, he looks off. Now, one of the most critical points that people have is the fact that Trump was picked up after being shot at, and the Secret Service allowed him to basically say, let me get my shoes and things of that nature. And whenever we saw a president or a dignitary shot at, the key is always to get them to the ground and escort them out of there. You don't let them grab their shoes. You don't let them hold their fists up as a sign of hope. Now, I do understand that, and I'm not saying that Trump wasn't shot at. I'm saying that this looks like a crazy protocol. Now, maybe the Secret Service know about a condition that Trump have that we don't know, where they didn't want to take him to the ground, and all they did was just surround themselves around him. But that's crazy to me, especially when you able to see that it's blood on him. I would feel the first thing you want to do is get him up out of there. Ain't no grab your shoes, ain't no XYZ. And so when we look at this situation, why would a guy who's a Republican want to do this? I'm sure they're going to dig into his past, but also we have to just take into account that he could have been put up to this by another Republican. We could take into account that maybe some legislation was going to be passed or have been passed that he feel affected him. Maybe it's something that he feel. Now, I won't lie. Now, Trump signed in the First Step Act, which allowed a lot of first-time offenders, or I think it was only drug and nonviolent charge. Go look it up. I don't want to lie about what it is. But I know a lot of nonviolent offenders got released under the First Step Act, and maybe he's upset because people have been released from jail, and he feel like that's a hurt to our economy. Maybe he feel like those guys had life sentence, whatever it may be, they should be in jail. We don't know what it is, but we do know that this guy waited until Trump started his speech to walk up the wall. We do know that this guy positions himself about 150 feet away from Trump. We do know that the Secret Service is supposed to at least put a 500 feet perimeter around him and make sure they look at and take care of the high points. We do know that Trump's ear was bleeding, so we can assume that he at least got grazed. When the shots went off, I'm kind of surprised that Trump didn't get to the ground faster. We do know that once he was taken to the ground by Secret Service, he was allowed to get up and try to find his shoes, and he was also allowed to raise his fist. In my personal opinion, that's a break in protocol, but I don't know the exact protocol. But I do know if it's an attempt on a former president's life who's running for president, who has a strong possibility of winning president, you don't parade him there and let him put his fists up after shots were just fired. You don't know if it's another threat there. You don't know if it's two shooters working together. You don't know if it's three shooters working together. More importantly, you don't know if that shooter was a decoy. That shooter could have been a decoy to take the sniper's eyes away from where Trump was and look for him. And then it could have been another shooter right there in the crowd or somewhere else. So Fortunately, he didn't die, and I've heard some people say, "Oh, how did he get missed? We're upset he didn't die." You don't want to live in an America where Trump gets assassinated, because now this would give some of the unhinged people the unjust justification to say, well, they've done this to Trump, and this is because the left is fear mongering, and now we have to go out with our guns and take the streets back, and the first XYZ person we see, we'll get rid of them, and the first person we see that say they Democrat or have a Democratic sticker on their you don't want Trump assassinated. I'm telling you now. A lot of these people are pro-gun. A lot of these people believe that they are fighting for their country. A lot of these people, and when I say a lot of these people, I mean people are unhinged on the left and the right side. People are unhinged on the Democratic side and the Republican side. The same way Trump could get killed and you can have somebody say, well, we need to go get revenge for them killing Trump. Trump could get killed and we could have somebody on the left side say, hey, that was a great idea that guy did. Let's go get more of him. And we don't want that as a country because it becomes very unhinged. It'd be hard for us to go a lot of places. So if a lot of y'all was confused in the beginning of the video why I said I'm happy that this guy was a Republican. That's why I'm happy, because we already see a lot of people going online saying, hey, the Democrats are doing XYZ. Let's just keep it a buck. Both sides are doing their share of fear mongering. Both sides are doing their share of looking out for their own best interests. And a lot of people don't even care. And when I see a lot of rich people say that they're voting for Trump, or I see a lot of poor people saying they're voting for Trump because he stimulates the economy, I don't really care about that part. I really don't jump into that part. But the one thing I think about when it comes to rich people have the luxury of getting an election wrong. And what do I mean by that? Well, if they get the election wrong and taxes rise higher, it don't bother them because they're millionaires and they're billionaires. Yeah, they may go on one less vacation. They may have to buy the 2003 Rolls Royce instead of the 2004. But when you're rich, you can afford small setbacks because your money is already set aside, opposed to when you're poor, those setbacks can set you back and your children back for the rest of your life. But a lot of people may be upset at me saying this, but I'm happy that Donald Trump didn't die in this assassination attempt because of what it would do to our country and what it would do to what I believe is an already divided country. Now, everybody not divided. I have friends that are on both sides of the thought process, and what they think don't affect me. And I won't lie, I have people on the left that says, hey, a vote for Trump is XYZ. And when I ask them why, they only mention that, the Roe v. Wade situation happened. And I asked them, how does that affect everybody else? And they can't really tell me something that's reasonable. And then I have people on the right who say, Biden can't run the country because he don't know what's going on and he's saying anything. Well, Biden may seem to be incoherent, but also Trump don't seem to have the best information of what's going on. So what's the difference between a person who's incoherent because physically they're deteriorating, or a person who is coherent but just not allegedly not taking the time to look at the things that he need to look at and be well versed on what's going on in the political realm. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. But like I said, man, I'm happy that this turned out how it turned out. I'm happy that Trump didn't get assassinated. And hopefully, instead of bringing the country apart, this can bring the country together. But we know that CNN and BCC and was it BBC, whoever it is, and Fox and everybody got to get their rating. So check out my original Chicago hood movie in the end screen, No Time to Play Fair. Once again, this is Fairplay 2333 of Same Spit, Different Face podcast. Well, my opinions is facts. And if you don't like my opinions, you can start your own podcast. And if you do like my opinions, you can hit the subscribe button and follow me on all platforms. Peace.